Hello and welcome to Double C Sports. I'm your host, Cowboy Connor, talking to you guys about sports, sports philosophies, and sports futures. And today, guys, this might be the biggest game in our program's history. This is North Texas versus Tulane for the American Conference Championship. Winner goes to the playoffs, loser goes to a great bowl game. And today, I'm going to give you guys a breakdown on the game. I know it's a little bit late. I'm right now recording this 30 minutes before kickoff. But basically, what I'm going to go over is the stats and and the X factors that North Texas needs in order to win this game. I'm going to come back to this video after the game's over. I'll see what I got right and what we didn't do. So let's start off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the stats for North Texas and Tulane. And then I'm going to tell you like which one has, we're going to compare stats. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of the impact. And then at the end, I'm going to give you guys X factors and what more North Texas needs to do in order to win this game. Let's start off with starting quarterback. Obviously, North Texas has Drew Mestemaker, who has 3,800 yards. He has a 71% completion percentage, 29 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. He's been great for us. Tulane has Jake Retzlaff, who has 2,700 yards, a 63% completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, and very importantly, 6 interceptions. North Texas has a better starting quarterback, but let's look at the backup quarterback. North Texas has Reeves Parfenbarger, who has 36 yards, a 72% completion percentage, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Tulane has Brendan Sullivan, who has 220, 65%, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Okay, Tulane has a better backup quarterback. Less important, but North Texas has a better starting quarterback. In case of emergency, I don't trust North Texas here. Let's talk about the running back one. North Texas has Caleb Hawkins, who has 1,200 yards, a 6.3 average, and 23 touchdowns. Tulane, their top rusher is Jake Retzlaff. This is very important for the game. Jake Retzlaff has 560 yards, 14 touchdowns, but very, very importantly, Jake Retzlaff has a long of 70 yards. Now, obviously, I don't know what game this is. It could be against the School of the Blind and the Deaf. But that's scary. Because you got to run back. You got to run past the linebackers, the cornerbacks, and the safeties for 70 yards. That is impressive. Tulane's top running back is Javin Gordon, who has 470 yards. That's not amazing, but let's highlight it here. 4.3 average. This is going, to me, from what I've seen, Javin Gordon is more of a power back who also looks to develop his runs based on what his line can do. It is 4.3. This is a great offensive line. So really, it's going to be about a 3.0 average here. And he's got 5 touchdowns. I think North Texas, Caleb Hawkins is just so much better than Javin Gordon. But Javin Gordon is going to be a power back compared to a more elusive back of Caleb Hawkins. Depth running backs, North Texas has the very speedy Mackenzie McGill II, who has 390 yards and 5 touchdowns. We have Keefler Sibley, who has 234 yards, 5 touchdowns. Ashton Gray has 178 and 2 touchdowns. That's a very impressive depth for North Texas. I feel like depth running backs are going to be very important for the tone that North Texas is going to establish, as well as the tone that they really establish in almost all of their games. Tulane has Jamari McClure, who has 335 yards and 1 touchdown. McClure is just really good for them. Arnold Barnes, the third, has 211 yards and 0 touchdowns. And Zubri Mobley has 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think it's really up in the air. Mackenzie McGill is just really, really fast. So if I were to say like which one is better, I think McGill gets bigger plays and McClure gets more consistency. I couldn't really tell you. The more touchdowns for the backups is pretty important for North Texas. North Texas did play more backups than Tulane did, so I would say that Tulane might have more depth there, but still. The wide receiver 1 and 2 and the tight end. So for North Texas, it was Wyatt Young who is so good. 1,203 yards and 10 touchdowns. Amazing for him. Cameron Dorner has 770 yards and 6 touchdowns. And their tight end is Trey Williams III, who has 320 yards and 4 touchdowns. Williams III needs to be explosive today. He needs to be great, mostly in the pass blocking game and to set up bigger plays with Hawkins. But still, he's a catch threat. This guy can score touchdowns. He can do anything here. For Tulane, it's Shaz Preston, who has 582 yards and 4 touchdowns. Their wide receiver 2 is Anthony Brown Stevens, who has 444 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their tight end is Justin Reed, who has 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now they also have a second tight end who has a little bit less numbers, but they're both pretty comparable. So I think overall, I mean, Wyatt Young and Dorner are just so explosive for North Texas. North Texas does throw the ball significantly more, but if your wide receiver, I believe even their wide receiver 3 is pretty comparable. Yeah, Miles Coleman has 411 compared to your wide receiver 1 having 528. North Texas just outthrows Tulane by a long shot. Speaking of which, talking about the wide receiver depth here, North Texas's Miles Coleman has 411 yards and 1 touchdown. I'm expecting a massive game from Coleman. I think he's going to be great. Landon Sides also has 400 yards and a touchdown. So those guys, those are your 4 core pieces for North Texas. This is what North Texas loves to do. They love to have backups. They love to have those backups be very explosive. I mean, watching this team, it's like North Texas has 4 wide receiver 1s. I mean, it really does. It's going to be very scary for Tulane. I think it's going to be really, really scary. It's one of the X factors for me. Their wide receiver 5 is Terrence Lewis, who has 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. More of a short threat guy from what I've seen from Lewis, but he's got great hands. Tulane's wide receiver 3 is Zacarl Lewis Jr., who has 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's very impressive stats. The ex-Washington State player Trey Shackleford, he has 184 yards and a touchdown, and Garrett Mimmott, who has 67 yards, 0 touchdowns. North Texas has significantly better wide receivers and significantly better wide receiver depth. Now, purely off of North Texas on the defensive line has more tackles like the defensive line. 1 is Ethan Day for North Texas. For Tulane, it's Trayvon McCapine, who has 31 tackles. Haynes for North Texas has more than Cameron Hamilton by 3 tackles, though Hamilton has 2 more sacks than him, and Haynes has a forced fumble over him. Huddleston is the edge piece for North Texas. He's going to be explosive in this game. He is an X factor. Ethan Day is an X factor. 5 sacks. He's going to be the one that's going to generate the most pressure on Retzlaff. So Huddleston has more than Santana Hopper by 2 sacks and 3 tackles. I mean, you could go Sadiq Clemens has 1 more sack and 2 more tackles than North Texas by position has more tackles and more sacks by position than any Tulane player. So, talking about linebackers, this is also where North Texas gets most of their yards or most of their tackles. Weslowski is having a great season. He's one of the most diverse players on North Texas. He is X Factor 1 here. Him and Ethan Day are X Factor 1. Weslowski has almost 100 tackles, 2 sacks, an interception, and 2 forced fumbles. After that, you got Trey Fields, who has 92 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception. Shane Witter is out for the season, but I don't know about the Shane Witter situation because he could come back. Tulane has more depth when it comes to linebackers. It's Chris Rogers, who has 68 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. But really, keep your eyes on Harvey Dyson, 32 tackles, 6 sacks, and Jordan Norman, 22 tackles, 6 sacks. These two guys, Dyson and Norman, are to me going to be the biggest X factors for Tulane and how they shut down us. Tulane also has more consistent tackles in the secondary. For North Texas, you have Patrick Smith-Young, who has 63 total tackles, no interceptions, no forced fumbles. Will Jones II has 60 tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. Very diverse player there. Hammonds for North Texas. These are, like, all three of these guys are safeties, are 50 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. Another diverse player on safety there. Cornerbacks, Derek Fisher has 42 tackles and an interception, and Derek Armstead, who has 36 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. Evan Jackson, who I think is way better than his stat line, has 36 tackles and an interception. North Texas, I think, is going to really rely on these safeties here, and it's going to be safeties on these double coverages. I wouldn't be too surprised if North Texas has their safeties play up or have their cornerbacks play more spread around zone. For Tulane, if you're North Texas, having Tulane safeties be this good, 68 tackles here, and a sack for Jack Chichincho. Bailey DeSepi has 53 tackles and an interception. Javon White has 42 tackles and an interception. Tulane has, in my opinion, a better secondary, or a secondary that has more tackles. This is more tackles. I mean, it's just like what it is. I think North Texas' secondary is more diverse in how they're spread out here. I mean, more forced fumbles than Tulane, but Tulane has equally more tackles and more depth here. Jaheim Johnson for Tulane's 33 tackles and a forced fumble. Joshua Moore, 23 tackles. And kicking, this is very important. For North Texas, you have Kali Nungma, who's 69 of 69 and 12 of 13 with a long of 46. Tulane's Patrick Durkin has 36 of 37 extra points and is 22 of 24 with a long of 52. So if you look at overall offensive stats, it's not even close. North Texas wins in starting quarterback, running back, wide receiver 2, 3, and tight end, wide receiver 3 and 4. And then on defense, they win on defensive line. I have them winning on linebackers. But if you look at Tulane, I think has a better backup quarterback. Tulane, I think, has better depth running backs. I think they have a significantly better secondary. And this is just based off stats. And what do these stats really mean? So these stats mean the difference of philosophy between these two teams. North Texas, and this is the number one bulletin board, nailing it down. North Texas needs to have a quicker tempo so that they can have more play calls on both sides of the football. While Tulane uses power backs and slower paced drives, devoid of big plays, to try to slow this game to be drive by Tulane versus drive by North Texas. So, if we're going to move on to the key aspects of North Texas winning, what is number one is always going to be have a faster tempo. North Texas can use more backups and more depth on defense and in their wide receivers, and they can play a tempo of high energy, high speed play calling to try to almost outwork Tulane's defense and out depth Tulane's or outwork Tulane's offensive line and out depth Tulane's secondary. This is going to force Tulane to play some more backups that could make costly errors compared to North Texas. North Texas, they need to abuse the power backs of Tulane. They need to try to blow up run plays. I think this is going to be mostly the job of these linebackers. Weslowski needs to maybe get a forced fumble here. Trey Fields needs to try to blow some of these up. Both of the defensive linebackers for North Texas need to go and try to blow this up. You need to see some safety pressure here for North Texas. I think that's going to be where North Texas is going to start to win, is having the guys that don't usually pass rush or run rush here. The X Factor matchup that I have is Ethan Day, the edge rusher, versus Derek Graham. Now, I have Ethan Day lined up on left edge rusher instead of right edge rusher because I think Ethan Day he works so well trying to go to the outside compared to the inside. Ethan Day is significantly faster than Huddleston Jr. Even though Huddleston Jr. has more sacks, I think most of Huddleston Jr.'s sacks come from pressure put by Day. So I think Ethan Day, having to use the outside aspects of the field, is going to be really, really important. And I think with Derek Graham he's an absolutely amazing player. He really is. But they're also going to try to run the ball down the left. If you ever watch a Tulane game, this is what Tulane always tries to do. They try to run the ball down the left side of the field. Tulane is going to try to do this the entire game. And Ethan Day, in response, needs to try to go to the outside, limit the big plays, and have your entire defense be aware of this matchup here. Day is going to try to isolate Graham into a one-on-one situation on the outside line. Your other defensive players need to try to pull that left guard away because their left guard's also great. And you need to put the big pressure of Huddleston on the center, your right guard, and your right tackle. Mostly your center and right guard, because I think their right tackle's like really good as well. But this is going to force Huddleston into a situation where he's going to need to shut down Retzlav's legs. And Retzlav is going to have to evade Huddleston the entire game because the entire left side of his offensive line is going to be shut down by a 1v1 and maybe a double team on your center and left guard. And then what I think it's going to be what I'm talking about the matchup is going to be is left tackle Graham is going to be on Ethan Day. I think your left guard might have an extra North Texas player on it, try to blow up the play, maybe a safety coming in here. On center, you want to put a really strong defensive lineman on him. And then your left guard and your left tackles where you want to have maybe a little combo here and maybe try to leave Huddleston to be with the quarterback Jake Retzlav. And I think that's what you want your matchup to be. I think North Texas is going to really, really want to have some double teams on some players and just leave your edge rushers alone. So for North Texas, your edge rushers need to play almost separately. Day needs to shut down the left tackle, and Huddleston needs to shut down the quarterback's ability to run. Those are my X factors right there. Additionally, I think if Ethan Day can shut down the left tackle, Derek Graham on the outside, the running backs, their average is going to be short. It's already short, but we want to make their average something of the lines of like 2. Now, what we really, really want to avoid is a situation where the left guard and the left tackle split off our defensive line and have a situation where their center and their right guard and their right tackle can almost split. Because I saw this in the Charlotte game, especially, and I really think this is how they set up their big plays, was because their left tackle and their left guard really took on like 3 players and just dominated them. So we can't do that. We have to have Ethan Day on Derek Graham be on the outside. Make sure that Graham and the left guard are not touching each other. They can't touch each other. North Texas, you need to have a linebacker to come in and just shut down these slot wide receivers. I don't know if you want it to be a linebacker or a safety really more, but they need to play an important role in both the pass game and in a QB spy versus red flat feet. And North Texas will need to have consistent pass defense. I think North Texas really, I mean, this isn't obviously like the most realistic thing because it's the American Athletic Conference. There's going to be like big plays everywhere. But for North Texas, I think you're going to play more combo blitzes and close zones than man coverage or deep zones. I think that you're going to want to really put more pressure on the wide receivers to get open more than putting pressure on Retzlav to make a good decision. And the one play I just don't think that North Texas can stop is screen or like throwing it to the running back. I just don't know if you can shut this down. That's like my big concern here. Now, moving on to the offense, North Texas needs to find a way to make sure that they don't throw dumb deep balls. Because, let's be honest, Tulane, their safeties are incredibly good. I just really think that North Texas, X factor for them is they need to limit their own deep plays, their own deep shots, and they still need to keep this tone up. That's the big question mark, is how are you going to stop running back screens, and how are you going to limit your own deep plays and keep this tone up? Those are the 2 big question marks I have. North Texas on offense, their X factor is going to be Miles Coleman. I don't see anyone on Tulane that's really going to be able to stop Miles Coleman. I'm expecting him to have an absolutely monster game. I think he's going to have a legendary performance. I think he's going to put up 120 yards. I'll say it, 120 yards. North Texas needs to use their depth piece running backs to have great blocking versus maybe some combo blitzes. I think Tulane is going to have some combo blitzes in here. And stop those sacks in the middle linebacker position for Tulane. I think another X factor is going to be Hawkins on the outside throws and have Trey Williams as a consistent blocking threat to create big plays for Hawkins. Overall, the only 2 players I think really I have left to talk about are Mestamaker has to have a game where he plays a really short, consistent game versus what I expect to be pretty consistent, constant, weak man coverage. I just think that's what Tulane's going to play. Because overall, for North Texas, you have, like I've said, four wide receiver ones. Like, it's going to be hard for Tulane. Tulane's going to be double teaming a few of these guys. I think Wyatt Young's going to get double teamed. I think Dorner is going to get double teamed, but I don't know who's going to cover Miles Coleman. And I think for the one guy I'd love to see have a great game, and if he just, I think I should just say, if this guy doesn't have a decent game, or he has a game where he's just not great, we're just going to get blown out. And that's going to be Gabe Blair, the center. Gabe Blair is probably going to be dealing with multiple people, maybe even like middle linebackers in there. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got two or even like three guys coming at him. Gabe Blair needs to be stacked and ready. And honestly, for North Texas, I I think tone is so important, but I think North Texas can get this game done. I will say that North Texas will win 45-35. I think it'll be a close game. North Texas will have those big plays. Hopefully, you can force punts instead of turnovers. I think that's going to be what's most likely to happen. And for Maker, this relies on you, man. This is his awakening game, and I think this is a big game for North Texas. I think that's all I gotta say. I'm your host of Double C Sports, Cowboy Connor. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Go Mean Green.